Get ready for more valuable financial insights from Northern California's premier retirement income planners, Dan Ahmad and Jim Files, owners of Peak Financial Freedom Group. For more information, go to peakfin.com. And now, here's Dan and Jim.
We'd like to welcome you to the Peak Financial Freedom Hour. Dan Ahmad and Jim Files here. And we'd like to thank everyone who listens to us every week. And people have been doing that for years. They want to try to get as much information about making the right decisions about their money, especially for retirement. We only work with retirees and soon-to-be retirees. So if you're 20 or 30, you're probably not going to get a lot out of what we discuss. It'll be important for you once you retire. But this is really for people that are 55 and older that are looking to make sure they make right decisions so they can have that very, very secure retirement. You can go to our website at peakfin.com and get a lot of data downloads. You can download our best-selling book. You can look at our other books. You can listen to our podcast from the radio shows going back. You can go and watch our TV shows going back. You can go to our YouTube channel. And don't hesitate ever, especially if you've listened to us for a while, to call and let us know that you might need some help. There's no cost, there's no fee, there's no pressure on you. We get people calling in after listening to the show for 3, 4, 5 years, and we ask them what took so long, and they kind of giggle, they feel a little embarrassed. They go, well, we just felt like it was the right time. And that's what we find. People call us when it's the right time for you. We're always going to be here. So we'll be here whether you call today or call a year from now. But for you, it usually works better to get a plan in place the sooner the better. So if you need help from us, dial pound 250 on your cell phone and say the keyword money. Pound 250 and say the keyword money. One big thing we've been helping, actually two big things we've been helping people with a lot this year that have really set their minds at ease is one, people want to reduce or eliminate stock market volatility in their portfolio. We have strategies and we'll build a written plan allowing to do that. The second is they want to get the highest amount of income they can as long as it won't run out for as long as they live. And we can get income payout rates from certain assets as high as 7, 8, 9, even 10% or higher. And whenever you can do those two things together, eliminate or reduce stock market losses and create a high level of income, Jim, it allows us now to put a plan together in writing for someone that'll be successful. So maybe tie that into some of the financial wisdoms, the quotes of the week for us.
Well, here's a great quote. This comes from Warren Buffett. As he says, never test the depth of the river with both feet. But if you think about that, most people test the river with both feet at all times with how they invest, right? Because if you have money right now, if you're doing it yourself or if you have an advisor, I would reckon probably the vast majority of your money is in the stock market, right? You put both feet in the stock market at the same time with the understanding that, yes, there's going to be volatility, but what you don't understand is that when you're taking income out of those assets and there's volatility, it's going to get really, really uncomfortable in that cold water because the market is going to change. And I want to make a point here because we talk about this all the time. We're not trying to frighten people about the stock market. We have our personal money in the stock market. We have the vast majority of our clients' money in the stock market, but that's for growth. On the income side of the equation, we're using different strategies. We're using different assets. We're using different instruments to get you the income. So it's not that we don't like the stock market. It's just that the stock market has no predictability in it. Nobody has any idea what's going to happen. And you have to divide your assets up into different buckets because all these buckets behave differently. And we want behavior when it comes to income to be guaranteed. So there's no doubt. So we can get you 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10% sometimes in an asset class that has no market risk. But at the same time, you'll have money in the market more than likely, but that's for growth, knowing there's going to be volatility.
And the percentage you're talking about there, those are income payout rates. They're not growth rates. They're income payout rates. But at retirement, what are we worrying about? Are we really worried about more the growth we're getting in our assets, or are we really worried more about the income? If you're worried about the growth, it means you're still stuck in asset accumulation mode, thinking at age 65 that you're 45 and you're not. You're 65, you're 65.
Yep.
You have to do things differently. And it's not that you're old. It's that you don't have as much time left to be able to make up for the big losses. And you said something key there was the 3 buckets. We always want to use 3 buckets for clients as long as the client's willing to take a little bit of risk in their portfolio. And our 3 buckets are going to be money in cash, money in the guaranteed accounts, and money in the stock market. If we can use all 3 buckets, we have a better plan for people. I'm going to steal a quote you made last week from George Foreman, and it's another financial thing I think that ties into what we're talking about, and that is, he said, the question isn't at what age I want to retire, it's at what income. And we find that to be the most down-to-earth view of how people see their money at retirement because they need to know how much income they're going to get. If you look at Robert Kiyosaki, he did the rich man, poor man thing. He said the key to financial freedom and great wealth is a person's ability or skill to convert earned income into passive income and or portfolio income. Well, that's kind of what we do. Yep. We help people take these assets that they've created over the last 30 years. Now they've saved. Now they have $2 million of assets, and they've done a great job saving. They have no idea then to do what Robert Kiyosaki is saying, which is now turn that earned income that they'd put into their 401k into now an income stream, basically that's going to last for as long as they live.
Yeah. Well, damn, people don't know how to do that. And what they're thinking about when you get close to retirement is not how much income they're going to have to generate, it's how much growth they can get off their portfolio so they have enough income to pay for their bills. And those are two opposite messages, right? You have to determine right up front how much income you need, and then you have to make sure that income that you need is guaranteed. It's not going to run out. And that you can spend it every month, regardless of what the market does. So when you go back to the three buckets we talked about earlier, we have money in the growth bucket, which is the stock market, but we're not trying to pull a bunch of income off that. And at times, we don't pull any income off that because that's your growth bucket. We have enough money in the green bucket, which is our middle bucket, bucket number 2, that's guaranteed. It's like a pension income stream that's going to come to you every year for as long as you live. If one of the spouses dies, it continues to come to you. And the cash bucket, yes, maybe a little tiny bit of income be taken off right now because you have high interest rates, but that's going to go away in 2 or 3 years. So that bucket's there for safety, liquidity, and security. So you have to divide your money up to make sure these buckets are behaving the way they're intended to behave when you're drawing income off your assets in retirement.
Well, a big test, easy for you to then decide if what we're saying fits for you or not. And that is right now at your current age or your current spot in life, current financial position, would you be helped more by a 50% gain, or would you be hurt more by a 50% loss? If you're 40, you'd probably say, well, a 50% gain would help me more. And you're right, because you have time to wither through anything. But right now at retirement, if you have a 50% loss, it's going to devastate the chances you're going to have a successful retirement, and you have to do everything to fight that won't happen again. So Jim, maybe make a comment on that as far as just making sure that everything's taken care of in that mode.
Well, in order for things to be taken care of, you have to sit down with a professional that understands income planning and asset preservation, not just money in the stock market. You have to have put together a plan based on the objectives that you and your spouse have. You have to know how to structure your assets so that they're going to behave correctly in retirement so that you can get through retirement successfully. So when you come in, if you come to our firm, that's what we do, right? We're an asset preservation firm, and we're an income generation firm. We have to figure out how do we control the risk in your portfolio so that your income plan is going to work. So we're going to lay out a whole plan for you. It happens over multiple meetings, which means that we have to have a budget first. We have to understand how much you're spending now, and then our software will increase that budget each year as we age. We have to then understand all your income sources, your Social Security sources. I mean, you might have pension income. Maybe you're lucky enough to have a little bit of real estate income, but then you have your assets. Those assets have to be divided up into different asset classes, some that are for growth, some are for income, so that we then can come together with a plan of where your income is going to come from by income source. Will the income go up? Will it go down? Will it go sideways? Will it disappear? Then we have to understand how much net after-tax income we're going to need. We have to do in the background, basically mini tax returns to determine, okay, this is your gross income by income source. This is your taxable income. This is the net after-tax income we're going to need every month, every quarter, and every year for the long as you live. Once you see that, you're starting to understand how these assets need to be grouped and how they need to be positioned, Dan.
Well, what you're talking about there, I think, is what makes most people start to feel comfortable about their money. Not just the concepts or the strategies like you're talking about, but the way we do it, which is to put all those concepts and strategies in writing that now will be based on their specific financial position. Like you're talking about, in writing how much income they're going to get from Social Security, from pensions, from real estate, where we're going to draw their other additional income from as far as their assets, when we're going to take it out, how long it's going to last, is it guaranteed for as long as they live, what rate is guaranteed for as long as they live, all those things. You can imagine seeing that and then be able to tell you how much tax you're going to pay and to tell you every month what every single person listening wants to know right now. And that is, how much net income after taxes do we have to spend every month? Think about it. It's just that one simple thing. Forget about everything else we're talking about. Every single person right now wants to know, how much net income we're going to have each month after taxes to then to be able to spend or save or gift or travel or do the remodel, all those types of things. So you have to make sure you know that number.
Yeah, and not only knowing that number, but knowing that the income coming in is going to be there every month and every year for as long as you live. Not speculating that if the stock market is going to do X, Y, or Z, is knowing that your income is going to be there, not the growth component, but the income component. So you need to have a separation in your plan so that you understand the growth assets and what they're supposed to do and what the income assets are supposed to do. And once you understand that behavior and how that plays a key point, a part of your plan, you'll start to say to yourself, I get this. I really, really get this. And you'll be able to position your money correctly so that when you do have drawdowns in the stock market, it's not going to affect your income plan. And when the income plan is flowing correctly, you're going to feel super comfortable to do the things that you plan to do. Going on vacation, even if the stock market's going down, buying a new car, even if the stock market's down, because you settled up front the income you're going to need in retirement.
Well, if you suffer a big loss, you're not going to be buying the new car. You're not going to be doing the remodel. You're not going to be spending money. You're going to hunker down and hope that it returns. And at some point, then start spending the money again. You're back with Dan Ahmed, Jim Files, the Peak Financial Freedom Hour. And we went and gave you some data on why we think it's so important for you to have a written plan and to know what your risk is, what your budget is, and how much income you're going to have net after tax each month to spend. Those are the keys. Well, let's look at what the topic of today's show is going to be, and that is what we call getting out of tune. And even if you think you have a solid financial plan in place, you probably don't have it in writing. Your whole plan is probably your portfolio. That's what you've been led to believe by your 401k company. Here's your retirement plan. It's just your account. Or your advisor, here's your investment plan. Well, it's your investment plan, but it has nothing to do with the most important things. Has nothing to do with your budget, has nothing to do with the risk, has nothing to do with how much income you're going to take out, has nothing to do with how long your income is going to last, has nothing to do with how much tax you're going to pay, has nothing to do with how much you're going to be able to leave your beneficiaries. Nothing. All it does is show your portfolio. So even if you have an investment plan in place, things can get really quickly out of tune if you do not make adjustments to make sure it fits where you're at in life right now. So let's talk about just some of these areas that we see people get out of tune in their financial plan. Number one, I think the most important one is not having an overall actual written plan, every single thing about their money in writing. Is that then one of the most important things to make sure you stay in tune with your money?
That is the most important thing. I mean, you talked about your kitchen remodel earlier. By having a plan in place, architected in place, so you can visually see every component of it. And unless you understand that and can visually see it and understand your risk, your fees, your income, your taxes, all those things have to be considered for you to feel comfortable going into retirement. Dan, I couldn't imagine going into retirement. Let's say I had $2 million. Let's say my wife and I had Social Security of maybe $50,000 or $60,000 between the two of us. Maybe my wife didn't work very much during the working years because she took care of the kids. And maybe I had the $2 million. I didn't have a pension. I had no other real estate income. And for me to try to figure out every day and every month and every year how much after-tax income I'm going to need to make me feel comfortable. I mean, unless...
Well, let's say your budget's $12,000 a month. You're only bringing $5,000 a month in from Social Security. What the heck are you going to do other than freak out?
Yeah, what you're going to do is you're going to do what the industry told you to do. You're going to say, well, what if I take 4% off my $2 million, which is $80,000 a year, and your hope is going to work out. But folks, it doesn't work that way. It really doesn't, because you're going to have down years. And if you're pulling off that amount of money in down years, it's going to take it that much more money to get back to even close to where you should be at any point in time. So just using your assets in this example, I just did a quick little calculation. People don't realize how much income they're going to need to be able to meet that $12,000 budget. With this type of example, a typical plan we'd put together would generate them Social Security plus their asset income about $200,000 a year of gross income. Yep.
If the taxes were about 15% between federal and state, that means they're going to net about 17, which means we're going to now have about $14,000 a month of net after-tax income to cover their $12,000 budget. How do they feel now?
They feel great, but they'd have to see that, right? And you can't speculate in retirement. People forget, when you're 40 or 45, you can take risk with your portfolio, your dollar cost averaging in every 2 weeks with your retirement plan. The market goes up and down, which it always will do, and it doesn't affect you because you have a paycheck. But now you're 60, 65, or 70, and the market goes up and down like it's going to do forever. But now you don't have $500,000 like you did at 45. You now have $1 million or $1.5 million or $2 million. It's a big number when the market goes down by 10% on a $2 million. That's $200,000. At the same time, you're trying to pull income out of it. It's not the same story as it was 25 years earlier. It's not.
And the reason right now we harp on the plan is if you don't have a plan in writing, you don't have the answers. If you don't have the answers, what the heck are you supposed to do moving forward to increase your chances for success? Right now, just ask yourself, do you truly have in writing how much risk you have in your portfolio? Meaning, if we go through another market downturn, and I think we've quote this a lot, since 1929, the stock market goes down an average 39% every 5 years. So you better plan on that happening. If the market goes down 39%, how much would your portfolio go down by? Most people think their portfolio won't go down by much. And we find that most people, over 90% of the people, just like you that we do these analysis for, if the market goes down by 39%, they're going to lose somewhere between 30 and 39%. And if you lose that much of your portfolio, a percent doesn't sound that bad, but if you have $2 million and you lose 30%, you just lost $600,000. So you better make sure you know exactly how much risk you have in writing and make sure you're not taking more risk than you want to. Do you have something that shows what your total fees are in writing? Meaning the fees you see and the fees you don't see, the hidden fees. You probably don't, but you need that because that's really the only way you can control fees. Do you have something that shows how much income you're going to receive each year from each source, how long that income is going to last? Is it guaranteed for life? And what's the payout rate you're getting on your assets? And is it comfortable? Does it make you feel like, yes, this is something that fits? Do you have an analysis that shows how much tax you're going to pay and what your net income is going to be each month? And I would say in writing, you probably don't. And then do you have a legacy analysis that shows exactly, based on very, very conservative numbers, what the probability you have of leaving your beneficiaries money after you've used your assets for income? Now, if you have all those things, you have an actual plan.
If you listen to Dan, the way he described that, if you're getting close to retirement, if you have at least $500,000 or more of investable assets, all you have to do is take your cell phone, type in pound 250, and say the keyword money. And by doing that, you'll be connected with our office. We'll show you how this is going to work specifically to you. And if you're getting close to retirement or in your retirement, whether you have an advisor, you don't have an advisor, whether your wife's doing the money management, you're doing the money management, it doesn't matter. We will do this for you at no cost. Again, pound 250, say the keyword money. We'd love to show you how this works for you, make a customized plan for you so this can really change your life.
Well, there's a new book we're writing. It's called The Golden Promise. It's done. It's in the final edit. And the Golden Promise is basically stating, you better make sure as a retiree, soon to be retiree, every single detail, every single promise about your money is in writing. If it's not in writing, you cannot trust it. So even if you have an advisor for 25 years and you trust them, if what they're saying is not in writing, you cannot allow yourself to go down that black hole of trusting someone without having responsibility and accountability, which is only put in place when everything about your money is put in writing. You're back with Dan Ahmed, Jim Files, the Peak Financial Freedom Hour. And today, the topic of the show is getting out of tune. And we call it this because we know so many people aren't sure what to do with their money. And it seems like they are not in tune with their money. They don't understand their money. They can't control their money. They're told they really can't control their money because you're always told, oh, don't worry. If the market's volatile, you suffer losses, hang in there, ride it out. You're in it for the long run. Don't worry. Everything will work out. Well, how in the heck do you know everything's going to work out? If you're 40, you have a high probability everything will work out because the market will recover. If you're 60 or 65 and we have a downturn, like we just talked about earlier, stock market goes down 39% on average every 5 years since 1929. If we have those types of downturns, what's the chance everything's going to work out okay if you're using your assets for income? And the chance is very, very, very low. I'm not going to say zero, but really close to zero. So how about then another way to stay in tune? We have a lot of clients that come in and we do an analysis for them, a second opinion. In their first meeting, we kind of ask, okay, where are you at budget-wise, et cetera? And they either say, yeah, we track it, or no, we don't. And then they'll ask us, they say, well, Dan, we need you to help us. Jim, we need you to help us figure out how much income we need for retirement. And Jim and I look at them dumbfounded and we ask them, what are you talking about? They go, we need your help to calculate how much income we need. And we again look at them dumbfounded and go, what are you talking about? They say, we need to know how much income we're going to need. And we tell them that's simple. It's called the B word, a budget. The budget tells you exactly how much income you're going to need each month. And we want to make sure that you have at least that amount coming in. And we never design a plan that only gives our clients their budget amount. We will tell them you do not have a safe retirement plan unless we can create a plan that has a significantly higher net after-tax income than what their budget is. So if their budget is $9,000, we want to give them $12,000, $13,000, or $14,000 a month to make them feel comfortable that nothing bad's going to happen. And it allows them to save money each month, which makes them feel even better all the way through retirement.
The beauty about this planning process is that you will learn different strategies. You will learn about how different financial instruments play a key part of your retirement planning. These instruments that you didn't have to even consider and probably don't even know about when you weren't getting close to retirement, because when you weren't getting close to retirement, you were just investing your money in the market. It was growing over time, and you were kind of dollar cost averaging in every 2 weeks from your paycheck. But all of a sudden, when you get close to retirement or in retirement, you have to look at different instruments. We don't believe, not that you can't, but we don't believe you can use the same instruments or the same strategies. For example, with money in the market, we believe money should be in the market, but we're using risk mitigation strategies. They're very specific to how we use those to make sure that we're doing everything possible to help control. You can eliminate risk. You can never eliminate risk in the market, but we're trying to control the drawdowns, the risk factor. For income, you get a choice. You want your income to be maybe income. In other words, it might be there, like money off the stock market. You take a certain percentage and you hope it's going to be there during good and bad times. Or do you want your income to be guaranteed, whereby every month and every year for as long as you live, you'll have a guaranteed income stream, kind of like a pension. You get to decide that. But when we start to put these numbers together for people, Dan, if they need $12,000 a month in net after-tax income, and if they have Social Security of $6,000 or $7,000 amongst the two of them that are retiring, the other $5,000 that they need or $6,000 that they need, a lot of times, if not most of the times, our clients want guaranteed income. They want that.
Well, almost all of them do, because they know they need that money to pay for their budget. So why in the heck wouldn't they want it? Especially once they're educated in helping them overcome their biggest fear. And everyone's biggest fear is running out of money during retirement. And that doesn't really mean, if you look at the bottom line, dive deep in it, it's not that they run out of assets. Their biggest fear is that they run out of income, because the income is what then drives their lifestyle. So you want to make sure you never run out of income. So now if you can have maybe income or guaranteed income, we're all going to choose the guaranteed income. But we also automatically assume, everyone listening right now assumes, well, that means I have to take a lot less income out, Dan and Jim, if I want my income guaranteed versus the maybe income that I'm invested in the stock market that might give me a higher rate of return. And the good news is it's exactly opposite of that. The more risk you take with an asset, the more volatility you have in the asset, the less income you can take out of it for life. The more guarantee we have inside of an asset, the higher level of income we can take out for life. Give an example. If we use the types of strategies and plans that are available right now, and this can change at any point next month, the following month, but right now, if we use certain assets to create a high level of guaranteed income payout rates, we can generate, which is pretty amazing, 7%. 8%, 9%, even 10% or more guaranteed lifetime payout rates. And if you're married, we can do it jointly. So no matter what happens, the income will last for as long as you both live, with one of the buckets that we use to now help us meet and exceed that budget.
The beauty of our planning is that that's the income side of it. And you get to decide, do you want guaranteed lifetime income or non-guaranteed lifetime income? And then what Dan's speaking about right now, this is a guaranteed income type product. But then you have the growth side. You're not giving up the growth on the other side of the equation. Then we will invest money for the growth if you're willing to accept risk. We're going to try to mitigate that risk inside the portfolio with very specific strategies we're using here. You're still going to have risk, but then you have the growth side. But when the market is volatile and it's going down 5, 10, 15, 20%, which is done the first 4 months of this year, you aren't concerned about the income side because your income is being maintained. It's not as bothersome. It doesn't make you as nervous. You're not as anxious over it because your income needs are met. And that's the difference, Dan, between being retired and having a secure plan and being retired and not having a secure plan.
Well, and you actually said a point I think that's very important there. And that is, are you, as the retiree, soon to be retiree, willing to take some risk in the portfolio? You do not let your advisor choose that. You don't let us choose that. You decide. And if ultimately we can build a plan, we're going to tell you, okay, here's how much risk you have. Are you comfortable with this? If you say no, then we reduce it. If you say, yeah, I really would like more growth, we can increase it. But the goal ends up being designing a plan that allows you to do it. I've had this year more clients come in and tell me they don't want to take risk. They're tired with risk. They're done with risk. They're tired of the volatility. They don't want to see their portfolios go up and down. So we will actually build them, for those clients who are 100% against risk, a 0% risk plan. But that's only for those people that demand it. The rest of the clients are usually okay taking a little bit of risk, and we design plans where we have some growth, like you're talking about, still in the portfolio that allows them to feel comfortable down the road. You're back. Dan Ahmed, Jim Files, Peak Financial Freedom Hour. And today, the topic of the show is getting out of tune, meaning whatever you're doing right now, getting ready to retire or already in retirement, your money doesn't match how it should be allocated to give you the highest probability that your plan is going to work and to make sure you understand your money. So we've talked about different areas of having an actual overall plan, making sure you're having a monthly budget that we can stick to, making sure you have the right amount of risk, because at retirement, the more risk you take, the better chance your money's going to run out in retirement if you're using your assets for income. If you're not using it for income, then the hang in there, write it out, everything's okay. That's going to work out long-term, we feel, because the market will always recover. The problem is if we have a market downturn and then it takes multiple years to recover and you're taking income out of the assets during the downturn and the recovery time period, there's a high probability you're going to run out of money. So let's look at a couple other things that we think are important in helping people get back in tune. One of them is having the right amount of cash in the bank. And we're planners, we're income planners. We invest money in the stock market. We invest money in the guaranteed accounts. And most people think, well, gosh, you guys don't want money in the bank because we don't get paid to tell clients to put it there. Well, for every one of our advisory clients, we're acting as fiduciaries. And we think you have to have money in the bank to have a prudent plan. We think if you don't have money in the bank or liquid or money markets or T-bills, whatever kind of asset it is, we don't think it's a prudent or proper plan. And people always ask us, well, how much money do we need in the bank? And there's no set answer, because that's going to depend on, one, what could happen in the future that would cause you to need a big chunk of money. If you don't have a bunch of real estate, just your house, we don't have to worry about that as much. But if you have 2 or 3 or 4 rentals, we better make sure we have enough income or assets available to pay for large costs that can happen. Are you planning any large purchases? A car. I have clients coming in. They're going to be buying an $80,000 Tahoe, and they need that in cash. So we got to make sure that's available. Are you going to do a remodel? Do you have college for grandkids that you're going to have to pay for? All those things then would come up with how much money we're going to need to put in cash. And another thing that we use money in the bank for is sometimes we'll put money in an account and just use that money over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years while we're deferring other assets, so we can have more income growth on a guaranteed basis for the other assets and provide a very tax efficient method. Because as we're drawing money out of the bank, if it's just liquid bank money, there's no tax taking out your principal. So it can work really, really well by having money sitting in the bank.
Well, again, and we divide money up into different buckets. You've heard us on the show before talk about this, because money in the bank is crucial to make sure that you have that security and for those upcoming expenses, and the fact that it makes you more comfortable. You don't stress as much because you have money in the bank. You have money in the market. It's for growth. It's going to have volatility. We want to make sure you have proper growth if indeed you are willing to take risk. But then we're going to have money in the guaranteed bucket, and the guaranteed bucket is in that bucket, there's no market risk at all. If the market go down, you can't lose a penny. And if you had money in that bucket, would you feel more comfortable? And 99.99% of the people that come in will feel more comfortable because they know they don't like market volatility as they get close to retirement. And money in that bucket also will provide you a guaranteed lifetime income for you, and if you're married, for your spouse as well, which means regardless of what the stock market does, regardless of what interest rates do, your income is going to be guaranteed for as long as you both live. Even if you ran out of money in that bucket, the income will not run out. It's like a pension income stream. So when we develop a plan based on the objectives that you set forth, and most of you have set forth the same things. You don't want to lose a lot of money in the market. You don't want to ever run out of money. You want to know where your income coming from. You want enough guaranteed income coming in from Social Security and other sources to maintain your budget. You want to be able to vacation retirement. You want to be able to do things that you planned on. In order to do those, you have to have a plan, and you just can't sit back and say to yourself, I'm going to pull just a certain percentage off my stock market investments and never worry again and never run out of money, because you will worry forever if you do that, and you could run out of money, Dan.
Well, if you've been taking money out of your account this year and it was primarily in a portfolio that was stocks, mutual funds, bond funds, etc., and you took it out while the market was going down, if you can say you weren't frightened by that or worried about that, you're 1 in a million.
Yep.
1 in a million. Because when you see your portfolio going down by itself, and then you see it going down even more because you're taking income out, it's a compounded effect of the decrease of your overall portfolio value. It just proves that you can't use that type of asset to produce income. And that really comes down to then the final point, and that is what you're talking about now, is making sure we create inside of a plan in writing dependable and guaranteed lifetime income at the highest level. Because a lot of times people will think, well, gosh, I have to take such a lower benefit by reducing my risk or by taking guaranteed lifetime income. Well, let's look at this. What if you can invest in the stock market and do really, really well? If you got a 10% gain per year, every year, you would be doing fantastic, because since 2000 through 2024, the stock market's only up about 5.7%. If you look at every 15-year time period from 1996, it's less than 6%. So if you got 10% every year, you killed it. You beat most money managers at that point. What if then we can now exchange in your mind psychologically that philosophical 10% growth rate that I don't think you're going to get in the market, but let's just pretend like you could. What if we can now exchange that growth rate of 10%? What if we can exchange that for a guaranteed up to 10%, maybe in some cases a little bit higher payout rate of your assets? Are you okay exchanging in your mind a 10% growth rate for a 10% payout rate? And when it's explained that way, every single client I've talked to says, yes, that's what I want, because now I'm at retirement and I know my income is what's going to drive my lifestyle. And it allows us now to look at an ultra conservative asset and look at a very aggressive income payout stream from it.
Well, even look at the last 12 months. I mean, last year, the market was in a bull market run, right? It went up, 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 and up. This year, it was in almost a bear market. It was down 19.5%, the S&P 500. Matter of fact, the NASDAQ has been in a bear market, down over 25% at one point. Even year over year, the market's basically, if you're lucky, flat. If you paid fees, you're probably down a little bit. And if you took out 5% in income, you're still down. You had a bull market for 9 months. You had a bear market or a down market for 3 months or 2 months, and you're still down if you're taking out 5% in income. So you got to understand the math behind your income distribution, and you have to determine how much money, as Dan mentioned, do you want to give up in growth for a guaranteed income stream. It's just kind of switching, the chess across the board, just moving those pawns from one point to the other to make sure your goals can be accomplished inside a retirement plan.
For more information about Peak Financial Freedom Group or to schedule a consultation, just go to our website, peakfin.com. That's peakfin.com. And thanks for watching.